Okay. So looks like we're live and it's giving me a excellent as far as technical stuff. So I think we're working. Sound looks good. I apologize that we had that little snafu with doing whoops both of them at the same time. There were some technical difficulties with Restream.io, so I just had to do it here on YouTube. But I hope that you've stayed with me. I know not everyone has a Facebook account. You might not have a YouTube account either, but you don't need a YouTube account to view it here. So here we are. And I've got several fun things I want to show you. One of the first things I wanted to show you was I've been playing in my studio today, and with all the madness in our world, what I have found that it's so important to take responsibility for creating joy in my life. You know, that's up to me and on me, and I look for ways that I can have fun, that I can play, that I can laugh, and I usually, I mean, I have to be really intentional about it because I get caught up in the madness. And today I've been in my studio playing with, I had saved a pile of corks and shells and driftwood and wire, and I made this fun little sculpture. So this is going to be part of my, I'm doing children's fall break classes coming on Monday for Cobb fall break. And if you'd like more information about that, contact me. I've also got some adult classes coming up. One of them is for Day of the Dead in October, and we're going to be doing these sugar skulls. This is an artist. She's no longer living, but her name was Marie Evie B. Gibbons, and I love her work. And she used to do these from her studio in Colorado every year. And they were so fun looking at. She would post the photographs of all the people that had made the skulls. And it was, you know, in honor of Day of the Dead, sugar skulls, but they're clay, they're not sugar. So for today, with the creative doodling, some of you might have been here to attended some of the other online creative doodling streaming that I've done. This was one that I started back then, and I'm adding to it little by little by little as I go along. And I find it calming because instead of getting distracted by, oh Lord, the bad weather in the South, or fires in California, the pandemic, systemic racism, what's going on with the voting, and there's just so much. It can be really overwhelming and stress producing. And if you're a parent, probably worried about, do I send my child back to school face to face? Do I keep them at home? What do I do? There's just so much. And we need a break from that. So I find that the creative doodling helps me kind of focus on something else so that all that other stuff doesn't get in there. I'm just taking time to create and play. And so I'm going to switch my view so you can see my overhead view, and I'm going to show you some of my examples. So here we go. This is just natural colored paper, and I did this with an ultra fine point Sharpie, and you don't use any pencil. There's nothing to map out. I also use, the white pen is a Uni Posca, which is, I love these because they're white, is not translucent, it's very opaque. As you can see, it's one of the best paint pens out there. You can use a white gel pen, but it doesn't show up very well. So I did this one a while back, and then, you know, with the pandemic, and you can use different colors of paper, cardstock. This is thicker cardstock, but you can use regular drawing paper. This is regular drawing paper. It's a little more thin. But it still works. This is colored pencil that I use for color. I obviously haven't finished that one. Just an idea to get those cogs turning and you creative cogs turning in your brain. So then I found these circular cards with matching envelopes. And I decided that I wanted to make something for my daughter and send it to her as a card because, you know, I miss her. She's in Tennessee and I don't see her because of the pandemic. And so I made this. And I'm so, so, so pleased with it. So I'm going to show you this one today, but I'm also going to show you this real quick because that one's quick and easy peasy. And this one's a little bit trickier as far as symmetry goes. And then you can write to your person on the back. And the first one I made, I actually made the envelope as well because I didn't have these envelopes. And I just cut the circle from tracing a lid to a margarine tub or some, actually it was a salsa tub. So I'm going to start with this real quick. I'm not going to finish it. And then I'm going to go to a smaller piece of paper with the blue and do the one that's the circle, because you don't need a circle paper to do the circle, the radial design. So we'll start with this one first. So what we're going to do to warm up our brain and get some ideas going is we're just going to draw or write out, make note of different kinds of lines and shapes. And so there's, you got vertical straight, diagonal straight, horizontal straight. Then you've got curved lines, which can curve in different directions, right? And then circles, dots, zigzag lines. That's a zigzag horizontal, but you can also do zigzag vertical and zigzag diagonal. So when you're working on one of these and you think, well, I can't think of any other designs, you could repeat the same lines and shapes, but in a different direction. So you've got spirals. You can do spirals where you've got spiral in one direction and the back in the other, almost like an S. You can put like this hump right here all together, a scalloped line. You can also do it in the other direction. I used to, when I was teaching my students at Rocky Mount, I would say hill, 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 or bowl, 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 and then bowl, hill, bowl, hill. Let's see. We're trying to access the Eventbrite, but we do not see you or anyone else. There's a chat box for questions. Yay, Erin. I'm going to text her and let her know that we are now on YouTube. And then, yes, comma, apologies, period, technical difficulties, period. If you will go to YouTube and look up my name, comma, JULIA-SPEER. Thank you so much for not giving up, period. Send me an email if you don't get in. All right, we'll see. We'll see. I hope she hangs in there with me. I taught her son back when I was still working in the public schools doing the ASP program. All right, so what you need to do is just continue coming up with different ideas. Like if you do this, you can add humps in here, and then you can put shapes inside of each one of these, like so. All right. And while you are filling up your paper with different lines, shapes, triangles, squares, rectangles, that was a rectangle, not a square, there we go. And all different shapes, I'm going to make sure that I can reach out to these others. So bear with me just a moment. And let's see here. I don't know what that technical thing was, but it is, there we go. Let's see if I can reach out to them. And we'll let them know, and maybe they'll come on over. I hope you guys don't give up on me. I know it's frustrating. It's ironic, isn't it, that I was offering this to be calming, and it can turn into this stressful thing. So let's see if I can do this. I know what I can do. I'll go back over here. Well, I hope that helps. All right, putting that down. Now, back to my cover page. So, we'll be adding and putting all of those things together, but remember that whenever you think you've run out of designs, you can repeat the same design, but you can put it together in a different order, or you can do it in a different direction. So if you think of lines, there's vertical, horizontal, and diagonal, and there's straight and curved and wavy and zigzag. So there's the direction of the line, and there's the kind of the line, the kind of line. So here we go. All right. I'm going to start with the simple one, and the simple one is this one right here. It's a little bit more simple than the radial design. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to start with a pencil to begin with, just to map it out, and I start with an easy curved wavy line that goes diagonal from corner to corner. So it's a wavy diagonal line. And then on this wavy diagonal line, and we're going to, the pencil line can be erased later, or you can leave it and it'll just be camouflaged in the end. But what you're doing is you're putting these dots, and they don't have to be equally spaced. Some can be closer together, some can be farther apart. Now you get your skinny felt tip black pen, your ultra fine Sharpie, or maybe it's a regular fine point Sharpie. Either one works. And what you do is we'll start with this one. Since it's the diagonal lines, we'll go ahead and do those. It could be a round curve like a hump. And so I'm going to do it on both sides. I'm going to start on one side first and then come down on the other side. All right. So I'm going dot to dot. And you can go all the way to the end, or you can stop short where your dot is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace my pencil line. And if you don't trace it exactly, you don't need to worry about that. The pencil originally is just to get your placement on the page. And then from there, it's just your imagination taken over. All right, so now I'm going to do the other side. All right, and that's going to be a low one there. The idea is to start a little bit low and then gradually get taller and taller. So I like to put a dot in there to kind of give my brain and eyes something to reach for. So I know, okay, this is how high I'm going. All right. Now, we're going to do another round, but we're going to make them a little bit taller. All right. So, for example, here and here and here and here. Now, I don't want the space to be too close together because that's where we're going to put our designs. And you don't have to do it on every one. This one I'm going to bring up to here and here and here and here. And if you chose to do, instead of the pointy one like this, that's triangle shape, if you chose to do the rounded one, then it's going to end up looking more like this design, right? Okay, I'm going to take this way out here like this. And this one here. Keep that one in kind of close. I want them, each one to look a little bit different, right? Okay, now I'm going to pick just a few, not all of them, and make the shape come even farther out. So I'm going to bring this out to here. And in my mind, I just saw a little circle at the end. I might add that later. And I'm going to put this one way up here like this. And let's see, this one. And I feel like it needs something over here, so I think I'm going to come here and here. Just looking at how much white space I have, what does the negative space look like in between these? This needs something as far as I'm concerned. I think I'm going to go out and in like that. There we go. Okay, so now I think I'm ready. I've got this little tail right here, but I think I might leave that. You can, these are fun. I always like to do curly cues. Spirals coming up, almost like it reminds me of plant life. Like vines. Okay, so I'm going to start with my innermost area there, and I'm going to make, I think zigzags, right? And then I think some straight lines coming up from the tip. Now, another thing that's fun when you start to do this packet, Prismacolor also makes the very best colored pencils. Oh, I love them, love them. But I love their, these pens right here. They're like micron pens, and they come, the nibs or the points are in different sizes. And I like to use some of the smaller sizes. Like this one is called a 005. My students at Rocky Mount, oh my God, they used to destroy these because they loved them. They liked the really skinny point, and they wanted to use them so much. So usually the ones with the more fine point got used up more quickly. But it gives the illusion, it almost looks like from far away that it's gray. It looks like a different value of black. But it's not, it's just that I'm putting those really skinny lines close together. So you see how it makes it look almost gray, but it's not. It's just a very, very fine point nib. The same thing is happening over here. So you're going to leave some spaces white, and you're going to have some other spaces that are blacked in. That's when I usually switch to my Sharpie fine point so I can fill in those black spaces. But the main thing to remember when you're creating these designs is you don't want to fill everything. What creates interest for the eye is when you leave some areas white, some areas solid black, and the rest of them are going to have these fun designs in there. You can add a splash of color if you want, or you can add a whole bunch of color if you want. There are a lot of different ways to do it, but I would definitely recommend that you have some solid black, some white, and then all the rest is going to be your wonderful designs. That's what's going to make for a strong design in here. Also, remember that if this is very straight and angular, you can also change it up by adding some curved shapes. So if I come in here with these rounded curves, almost like a petal or a little hill, a little camel hump, whatever you want to call that, and then I go up inside like a dragon eye, like this. So you've got some curve shapes that contrast with the very angular shapes of the exterior wall as well. And then I come in here and I can add some circles right above that. Okay. Just want to make sure I didn't miss any more messages around that. Let's see. I think that's everybody. All right. So there we go. I am going to, let's see, where are we at the time? 3:34. Okay, so we got about 15 more minutes. I'm going to continue with this, and then I'm going to show you how to do the circular one, because that one's a little more challenging. This one, you pretty much can do anything you want with these. And if you still have your pencil line, you can come in here and get rid of those, because this is a permanent marker. Sharpies are permanent. It's not going to smear. All right, I think what I'm going to do is go to this side and do a circle with a dot inside. Circles with dots. That's another thing that tends to create more interest, is rather than having a plain shape all by itself, shapes inside of shapes can be very interesting. Also, if you take the same shape but you vary the size, so you have some large, some medium, some small, that's also going to create more interest. All right, so there you go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is fill in some solid black areas so that you can see what I'm talking about that creates contrast. I think what I'm going to do here is, let's see, how do I want to do that? I think I'm going to do this again. Rounded. And then I'm going to put a circle inside here. Okay, so now let me show you the black. And when I start to do something solid black, I don't usually go right up to the edge. I fill in the largest areas first, and then I switch to my smaller pen. It's just, I have less accidents that way. So you can begin to see how having the solid black creates contrast and creates interest, because it looks so different with that high contrast of the black in there. You don't want to have too much black, because then it overpowers it. Sometimes when I would be teaching Zentangle to my students, or Zen Doodle to my students at Rocky Mount, and if they made a mistake, they would get upset. A mistake, I'm using air quotes when I say that. There's not really any mistakes in this. But if they didn't like their design, they would end up blacking over it, and then they would have too much black, and the whole paper would be so blacked. So usually I'll wait until I have more designs before I decide where I'm going to do black, but I wanted you to see it before I move to the radial design. So you can see how that does create interest, but it's really heavy and the eye goes right to that spot. So you would want to balance it out like I have in this one, and have, you know, some black areas sort of spread out so it does balance it out a bit. So now you have a choice. You can either keep on working if you're into it and you're really enjoying that, adding your designs, and you're referring to your list of all your different shapes and stuff. You may continue in that, or you can set that to the side because you're confident you can come back later, and we can switch to the radial design. Now the radial design, again, I had an idea of different shapes and stuff that I was using. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start on my blue paper right in the middle, and I'm not measuring. This is not about being perfect. Okay, this is about really enjoying coming up with the designs and kind of getting into it. So I think that the middle is somewhere right about here. I'll put a little dot in there. All right, and I'm going to put a circle around the dot. Okay, so now I'm going to add some spikes that come out almost like the spokes of a wagon wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one here and 1, 2, 3, and it helps to rotate your paper as you go. 4, 5, 6. Now, these are not exactly, if you measure them, this is a little farther apart than these two, but I don't get too upset about that. I'm going to go ahead and add a dot on the end of each. And then I'm going to use my list. All right, so over here, I think the first thing that I'm going to do is make a hill curve like this. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to start and go from dot to dot, right? And I'm going to do a hump that comes up and over. Now, the trick is if you rotate your paper, it kind of helps you get the same height, because you don't want one to be big like this and one to be little like that, because then your design is lopsided. That's why it's a little bit tricky when you do this, because we're going for more balanced radial designs. I'm going to cross that out. Over here, I'm going to do a hump. Now, when I was doing this, when you do it freehand, obviously it's not going to be perfect, but I think that's kind of what makes it fun, is that you're just kind of jumping in there. Okay, so it looks sort of like a flower. So on the next one, I want to do something different. I can come back into these designs and add more, but for right now, I think what I'm going to do is draw, let's see, I think I'm going to do a zigzag line, okay, that goes from the dot. And it's going to be a skinny zigzag, right? So it's not going to go out very wide. There. And there. And I'm trying to make them the same length, but I probably won't get it exact. Okay, so that's that one. So now from there, I think what I'm going to do is a straight line right in the middle of what looks like a flower petal. So I'm going to have this straight line come up. I think I'm going to make it come up a little higher like this. So it's going to stick out a little longer. All right, so now I'm going to connect these. And I think what I'm going to do is if I scoop in, I could scoop in, so I think I'll do a shallow scoop in like that, almost like a smile. All right, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to have it come all the way across, so it's going to come down and up, and it's a very shallow scoop. Down and up. And yours doesn't have to be exactly like mine, right? You've got your list of your designs. All right, so I've got that. And now, let's see. I'm going to put a shape on the end of each one of these points. And the shape is going to be a skinny heart shape. All right, so I'm going to go right here, skinny heart shape. Now the trick is making sure each one is the same height. And that's not always easy to do. I'm going to try to get it close, right? There we go. All right, so there it is. Now, there's more that I want to do out here, but before I do that, I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to add some designs in there. All right, so I'm going to add, let's see, let me have, where's my pen? I think I want, oh, also, you might also like these. These Sharpie pens, I forgot about these. Now, this one's red, and I'm not going to use it today, but these are good, too, because they don't bleed through the paper. Okay, this is a Prismacolor, like a micron. All right, so I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go inside these petal shapes. All right, and I'm going to make a rounded teardrop. All right. And because the first shapes I made were kind of big, I've got plenty of room to go in here, right, to go inside of there. And now I want something up in here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to imitate and just repeat that skinny line again on each side. Like that. Not too close together because I don't want them to bleed and make just one big black blob. So I'm trying to get it far enough apart where you can still see the zigzag line. So again, I'm just repeating the same thing. I don't have to come up with a new line or a new design. I'm just repeating the same one. That one was kind of far apart and that one was closer together, but that's okay. That's okay. Now let's see. I'm going to go to, I actually think I'm going to add another one here around this one because it could touch the top of that petal and that's just fine. There we go. That looks a little more interesting. And one more right here. There we go, like that. I'm looking at the center. I kind of like that this is empty in there, but I think I'm going to add another ring. There we go. And then I think I'll go inside here like this and do little short lines that go all the way around. Now, like I said, I don't want to put designs everywhere. I like that this has a lot of stuff going on in here, but then there's the contrast of these blank spaces here. And I like how that works there. So I'm going to start thinking about what I might do in this shape. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a another hump like this first one, but I'm going to stretch it out a little longer, and I'm going to go from this point to this point. So I'm going to come up and over, up and over. I didn't go quite high enough on that one. There we go, up and over, up and over, up and over, up and over. There we go. Okay, so inside that shape, I want to add something. To me, it looks like an eye. So I'm going to add an eyelid. Let's see. And this one I'm going to go on the outside because it was a little short. There we go. And maybe I'll add an eyeball in here, right? It might be kind of fun. So I'm going to make a circle that goes almost there, and then a black one and a white one. Or not white, empty one. Right? There's my eyeball. Same thing here, right in the middle. Nice big circle. And it doesn't, because I want it to look like an eye, I'm not letting the the circle be complete. It kind of goes up under the eyelid, just in the same way that our iris does in our eye. So this would be here. And you see how it kind of goes up under that right there? I'm doing that on purpose because I want it to look like an eyeball. And as I said earlier, you don't have to, copy what I'm doing and do it exactly the way that I'm doing. The main goal is to have fun and to find yourself sort of lost in the creating of designs. And typically, if you can do that, when that happens, it has a calming effect, which is very nice, especially in this mad, mad world we're living in here. It's nice to be able to have your brain take a load off and relax and play and have fun. And this one to me is so pretty, but I only got to this after I had done it several times. The first one was very wonky. Of course, on a square piece, you don't have to be quite as careful. When you got a round piece of paper, if you're wonky, it shows up a lot more. But, I had intended to share this with you guys. Children, family, people by themselves, however you want to do it, you can get your glass of wine, get your pen and your paper and sit down. And it's just very calming, and it's wonderful to have some creative expression and creative energy. You can do it with your family. I've had a woman that I know from Rocky Mount Elementary. She and her husband and her son, who is now in middle school, did it together, and they did a wonderful job. I mean, it was so awesome to see what they did. And she said it ended up being this really special family time. So that's cool. Now on the eyelid part, I'm going to do some vertical lines in here, and I'm going to make them kind of close together. So with all of this empty space, I started to say white, but it's not, it's blue paper. All this empty blue space around the eye shape, I wanted some contrast. So I thought it would look better if I filled in this top, because all this is blank, all this is blank, all this is blank. So it needed something more. So I'm going to go in here and add. And these, especially if you have cardstock is just a little bit thicker paper, and usually cardstock tends to be smooth, which is nice when you're doing this. It's nice to have a smooth surface, but they make such wonderful cards. You can write, this is to my daughter. You can write a note on the back and stick it in an envelope and send it off, and then someone has a very special handmade card. And what I did was I worked on doing a whole set, and then they make nice gifts. Now I'm also looking at the heart shapes, and I realized that they look pretty plain. So I'm thinking about, okay, what can I add to those heart shapes that would create interest, that would make them not so plain. Right now it's just a single shape all by itself. I want to add a little something. I think I might black them in. Yeah, I think I will. I think because we've got black here, I think I'll blacken the hearts, but first I'm going to add 3 small circles coming up out of the center of that. Don't really have enough room over here. And remember, as I said over here, sometimes my students, when I would be working with them and we would be doing Zen Tangles and Zen Doodles, and they would say, Miss Julie, I can't think of anything else. but it helps, you know, you can do a shape inside of a shape. Oh, you can't really see that, can you? Circle, triangle, rectangle, teardrop. You know, there are a lot of taking the limited shapes that you think of and then adding to them. So I had this plain heart by itself, and I added circles. And now what I'm going to do is black in this heart. I think that's what I want to do. I'm just going to jump right in. There are no mistakes, right? Because every time you do something, even if it, in the end when you say, you know, I like it, it was fun, but I'm not sure I'm so happy with this area over here. Well, that is a source of, it's the learning curve. It's what you learn every time, you know, you do it, you learn something new, and then you can take that new information and add it to your next one, like this one, which I'm so happy with. But like I said, the first 2 or 3, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I need more practice. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes better. So as I'm beginning to look at the black, I think what I'm seeing is the black. It's a lot of black. And I think as I look at this, I see that that some of these areas, I want more designs in them. And I'm not sure where, because I like the zigzag and I like the blank spaces on the zigzag. I almost think maybe the eyeball shape. I'm not sure. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just taking a break from that right now. I'm going to go back to this one, and I think what I'll do, oh, what if I do this? Oh, I know. I could go like this. So I'm adding more details without overwhelming that empty space. All right? Yes. So there's no rule that says if you have a blank space that you have to fill all of it. All right? I just decided to add something to this center line. And that, do you see how that creates interest? And I think what I'm going to do, one more thing, is I'm going to add dots inside of that and see how that looks. So if I go like this, see, here's what I'm talking about. So even though the dots are solid black, they're tiny. So it just looks a little different. Little different details, right? It might be hard for you to see from your screen. I'll hold it up. I think what I can do is zoom in. Hang on, let me see if I can adjust my hovering iPad. Oh, was I getting my head in the way? Sometimes I put my head under there and it blocks the view. And it's like, whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. There you go. So you can see the designs better there, right? And so I'm going to go over here. It almost looks like a bug face right there. Eyes, this and there, something about that. Also, what I'm noticing, I'm kind of jumping around, is that I've got a lot of blank space here. I think I want to put something on top of the eye. Maybe more curves. I'm not sure yet. It needs to. I need to break up the space some. I think I'm looking at this thinking, what if I did a zigzag line, right? What if I did a diamond shape? Ooh, diamond shapes are fun. I could do more of the curved shapes. My stomach just growled. Did you hear that? I think what I'm going to do is go to the, do like a zigzag. Oh, yes, definitely. I like that. That was what it needed. You see? Isn't that cool? Yep, that's what it needed. I think it works well because it's an angular pointy line next to a curvy organic line. And I think also because it's above the eye and it almost is reminiscent of maybe eyelashes or an eyebrow or something like that. I think that's another reason that it works. Okay, so we're at time. So obviously I have not finished mine, but I'm going to just lay this down here just to give your brain sort of something to hang on to as we close for today. I want to say, most of all, thank you so much for tuning in, those of you that did. I might have lost all of you when I moved from Facebook over to here, but I know some of you, I was looking forward to seeing to having some of my former students attend. I was very encouraged by that when I got some emails and some of the Eventbrite responses. And I didn't want to lose you, and then I had this technical difficulty, so that was disappointing because I was looking forward to that. And I hope that you stayed with me. And if you enjoyed it, we'll do it again, and I will keep you posted. And apologies if you got dropped somehow and didn't get to see it. And if you have questions about I was talking about my fall break classes that will be coming up. This is just one of the fun wood, cork, seashells, and clay and wire sculptures that the students will be doing. There's painting. There is air dry clay. There is oil pastel. There's all these different mediums. The fall break will be a different project every day, and so the students will end up with 5 projects. So if you have a student, elementary to middle school age, and you're interested in that, you think they would like it, please reach out to me. If you are an adult who says, "Oh, I can't even draw stick people," then I say to you as an art educator, I would say, stop thinking of it as art and artists, because I think in our culture what happens is people think of art and they go, oh, drawing and painting. Well, if I can't draw and I can't paint, then I'm not an artist. I'm not creative. And that is absolutely not true. One of my favorite quotes by a woman named, a researcher and author named Brene Brown, she said that there's no such thing as creative people and non-creative people. There are only people who use their creativity and people who don't. So if you are, and this does tend to be more true of adults, if you are an adult who does not think of yourself as creative or artistic, I would challenge that. And I would say today there are so many more mediums than just drawing and painting. Stores like Michael's and Joann's and Blick Art Materials, there are lots of fun things to play with and explore. And you might even have things in your home. Like I save wine corks, and I had those. I had seashells that I had collected, pieces of driftwood, and I got out my Dremel and I was trying to figure out how to use it as a drill and put it in the drill bit, but I figured it out, and I had so much fun. I went upstairs afterwards and I told my husband, I was like, I'm feeling really hopeful. I don't know what I feel hopeful about necessarily, but I'm feeling really hopeful, which you got to admit, in today's time, that's no small thing to feel hopeful. So if you would like to reach out to me and email me, ask me any questions about any of the classes I have going on with children, with adults, workshops, if you want to schedule something, if you want to do a girls' night out virtual deal where we do a creative doodling or something like that, let me know. My email is MsJuliasArtStudio.com. And so that's MsJuliasArtStudio. MsJuliasArtStudio.com. Just like you see right there in the corner, it says MsJuliasArtStudio.com. Well, my email is MsJuliasArtStudio@gmail.com. But if you go to my website, you'll see some of the projects and things that I've done in the past with kids. My website for my art, which is mostly clay, hand building, I don't throw on a wheel. It's not pottery. It's sculptural pieces, figurative, containers, different things like that. My website is juliaspearart.com. So anyway, I've talked enough. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope